Israel's political and military leaders have approved plans to expand the Gaza offensive. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's security cabinet unanimously approved plans to call up reservists and put the Israeli military in charge of food and other vital supplies to the 2.3 million people suffering under its blockade of the Palestinian territory. Newswires reported unnamed Israeli officials suggesting that the plans include the conquest and occupation of the entire Gaza Strip. Reuters reported the expanded offensive could go as far as seizing the entire enclave. Gaza's government media office has strongly rejected Israel's proposed plan to distribute humanitarian aid through centers controlled by the Israeli occupation military, calling it a violation of humanitarian principles and an effort to perpetuate the blockade. The office argued that the new mechanism, which would impose arbitrary security conditions on aid distribution, transforms humanitarian efforts into tools for political blackmail and collective punishment. It emphasized that Israel, as an occupying force, cannot act as a neutral mediator for aid. In a statement, the office called for the immediate lifting of the blockade, the reopening of crossings, and the unrestricted entry of aid, stressing that Gaza requires action, not further promises. It also reiterated that the ongoing occupation continues to violate the human dignity of Palestinians every day. Israeli Major General Yair Golan of the Occupation Army Reserve accused the government of expanding military operations in Gaza to protect Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his ruling coalition, rather than to ensure national security. In a statement posted on X, Golan, who also leads the opposition Democrats Party, said the military's role is to protect Israeli citizens, not to serve political interests. He warned that the ongoing occupation of Gaza would come at a high cost, including the lives of detainees and soldiers, and risked leading the country away from its so-called core values. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid has questioned Netanyahu's decision to mobilize tens of thousands of reservists. He said Netanyahu is calling up troops and extending their service without setting a goal for the operation. Israeli occupation military issued call-up notices to thousands of reservists to support an expansion of its offensive in Gaza. According to Israeli media, the reservists will be deployed to Israel's border with Lebanon and in the occupied West Bank, replacing regular soldiers who will lead a new offensive in Gaza. A heated confrontation has erupted during a meeting between Israel's Chief of General Staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, and two far-right cabinet ministers over the continuation of the military operation in Gaza. According to Israel's public broadcaster, Kan, the dispute intensified when National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and Minister for Settlement Orit Struk argued that no aid should be sent to Palestinians in Gaza. In response, Zamir reportedly shouted at the ministers, warning that their position was dangerous and violated international law. He emphasized the need to avoid starving the Strip, stressing the potential risks to Israel's security. Zamir also reiterated his concerns directly to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but the cabinet ultimately decided to continue with the blockade, which has led to a humanitarian crisis affecting about 2.3 million Palestinians since its imposition early March. The United Nations has rejected an Israeli proposal to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza under the control of Israeli forces, warning it violates core humanitarian principles. The UN humanitarian country team in Gaza said the plan would turn aid into a military tool, placing civilians and aid workers at risk by forcing them into military zones to collect supplies. The proposed mechanism would also require and emphasize it can only support aid delivery plans that uphold the principles of humanity, neutrality, independence, and impartiality. Hamas has rejected Israel's proposed plan to bypass international aid agencies and directly distribute supplies within Gaza's militarized zones. The group condemned the plan as an attempt to use aid as a tool of political blackmail, insisting that aid should be managed by competent international or local organizations, not manipulated for political purposes. Hamas described the plan as a violation of international law, accusing Israel of extending a policy of starvation and distraction and using it to delay action on what it called crimes of genocide. The group urged the international community to reject what it called false occupation narratives and to push for the immediate lifting of the blockade to allow food and medical aid to flow under UN supervision, free from military or political interference.